Я единственный в огне, кто читает свои сны. Поклоняюсь темноте.
Before I begin, I'd like to say that I have never been interested nor believed in spirits/demons before moving into my new house. I was raised agnostic, and my parents made sure that wouldn't change. It's also good to point out that neither the landlord or the girls that lived here previously said anything about the house being extremely haunted, which makes sense in some aspects, but fuck, come on now. About a month ago, my old roommate and I moved into a new house with 3 other guys that go to the same university as us. The house was built in the mid-1800s and is known as a historic house. It has an official plaque at the front of it stating that there were a few mayors that once lived here. The house looks like a cottage with rouged red bricks and a deteriorating white paint around the windows. I was the first to move into the house, while the rest would pour in a couple days later. Walking in for the first time, I could smell the old scent it provided. The floorboards would creak with every other step, which filled the void of omnipresent silence. In a few short trips, I hauled everything into my new room and set up a TV in the main living room where I'd end up watching Netflix later that night. About halfway through my show, I heard 4 footsteps upstairs. These footsteps were loud, as if someone was walking around with steel-toed boots. My stomach dropped instantly, and I paused the show in complete awe of what I just heard. It had been 2 months since the girls moved out, so my initial thought was that there was a squatter upstairs. After 2 minutes, I finally got the balls to get up and look around the house. I went to the kitchen first to pick up a knife before heading upstairs. With my heart about to pound out of my chest, I opened the door where I assumed the noise came from. But there was no one. At least, no one physically there, because it felt like someone was in that room with me. I could literally feel eyes watching me as I paced around the room. After a few minutes, I headed back downstairs, completely phased by what had just happened. Nothing else happened the next few days, which instilled thoughts that I was just tripping and that my anxiety manifested the feeling I felt. Later that week, my old roommate and a new roommate finally got to the house. This made everything better, and I finally felt safe for the first time since moving in. That was until I had my second encounter. Almost a week went by since the first 2 roommates got to the house. We were in the main living room playing Fortnite on 2 TVs trying to get dubs. I handed one of the roommates the controller since I died. This led to him and I switching places so he could get the spot that sees the TV better. I ended up on the couch facing our second living room area, which was right next to the room we were at. As I was watching the TVs, I could see a dark figure peer out of the corner of my eye in the second living room. What I saw was horrifying. It was a tall man, maybe 6'3", 6'4", in a partially ripped black sweater. His left eye was missing and his jaw was crooked, almost as if it was going to fall off. Simply the most grotesque person I had ever seen. I screamed in complete terror and pissed off both of my roommates until their eyes fell onto what I was staring at. We all couldn't move. After a few seconds, we realized that he was slowly walking towards us, so we dipped out the front door. After about 30 minutes outside, we finally went back in. No man in sight, so we sat in the living room for the next few hours, barely saying any words. In the last 3 weeks, I have seen the man 2 times and heard footsteps 2 times. Both times I saw him, he appeared as a black figure, to which I was unable to make out his facial features. We are becoming restless. I've stayed at the house less than 75% of the time since that first night. I luckily have a friend that is always cool with me staying over. The other roommates avoid the house whenever they can, often sleeping at their girlfriend's house or another friend's. We contact our landlord, who initially tried to gaslight us before confessing that he knew about the man. We're currently trying to find a new house. Next week, we are getting a preacher to bless the house, which I surprisingly don't oppose. From these experiences, I'm now questioning my beliefs as an agnostic. I've seen my roommates pray together to stop the occurrences, which actually work most of the time. But one thing I don't understand is I have no idea how the girls before us stayed here for over a year.